Is your business struggling to stand out from the crowd online? At Webamax, we specialize in turning clicks into customers. From SEO and PPC to social media management and stunning web design, we've got you covered. Boost your online presence and drive real results. Ready to take your business to the next level? Visit Webamax.com. That's Webimax.com for a free digital analysis. Roll the web with Webamax.com.
We are AudioStack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
We are AudioStack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
We are AudioStack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
Hi there, Duke fans. DBR Bites, episode number 52. We had a couple things come out this afternoon that we just had to hop on very quickly and talk about. Not going to spend a lot of time here because we're both very, very busy men. I'm Jason Evans. Joining me is Donald Wine. Donald, you're still out and about viewing soccer games, huh?
Yeah, there is one tonight here in Orlando, and I'm here for that match. And literally after we finish recording, Jason, I'm going to run to prepare for that game. But as you mentioned, a couple of things that came out this morning that we definitely want to jump on and talk about.
Yeah, and by the way, one of the things I wanted to mention, reflecting on our previous episode, I am conceding defeat, Donald. We had our little draft of the best defensive teams in Duke history. If you have not listened to that episode, please give it it's DBR. I think it was DBR Bites, or was it? Yeah, it was DBR Bites.
It was
whatever
Bites, yeah.
Whatever it was, have a listen to the previous episode and our conversation where we ping-ponged back and forth. Donald, you have won. We had a vote on Twitter. We had a vote on the DBR boards. We actually got the emails were actually favoring me, but the votes on Twitter and the vote on the DBR boards were so overwhelming for you that I'm going to go ahead and concede and say that your team, led by the great Shane Battier, beat me. I think that I made a mistake in perhaps drafting Billy King instead of Grant Hill. There was a whole lot of love for Grant Hill out there from Duke fans. And I think that was my big mistake in our snake draft. So, yeah, that's, and the other thing was a number of people pointed out that Sheldon Williams, as great as he was on defense, wouldn't be as effective a defender today in the, modern sort of spacing of pro and college basketball. I sort of think that's a completely bogus argument. But
we were taking them with the times, right? Like
Yeah.
We weren't thinking about Sheldon in 2024. We're thinking about Sheldon in 2005, 2006. That's
exactly.
That's the you have to approach it.
But in any event, let's move on to other topics now, because very quickly we just got a short time ago from John Rothstein. He has leaked the schedule for the ACC-SEC Challenge this year. A number of really, really interesting matchups. I'm not going to mention all of them. I'm sure you can go out there and Google it and find it, search on Twitter or wherever else it may be. I just want to mention a couple interesting ones, and then we'll get to who Duke is playing. Cal is playing at Missouri. First of all, good on Cal that they made it into this, because neither Stanford nor SMU, I don't think, made the cut on the ACC side, but Cal did. Cal's playing at Missouri, and I wanted to note that because it means that Mark Mitchell, now playing at Missouri, misses a chance to play a familiar ACC opponent. Georgia Tech is playing at Oklahoma. I think that's a very interesting matchup because I feel like Georgia Tech is a program on the rise and is a program that may surprise some people next year. And that could be a good opportunity for them to get a nice road win. Kentucky's at Clemson. Let me tell you something, Donald. Littlejohn will be rocking for that.
Yes.
And I think that's a very I think Kentucky's probably going to be favored in that, but that should be a very interesting matchup. And then the last two I wanted to highlight, Alabama is playing at UNC. I think folks, I'm not sure if you watched the NCAA tournament last year. This is a rematch of a Sweet 16 battle that happened between Bama and UNC. Alabama, by the way, likely the preseason favorite in the SEC. I've seen folks touting them in the top 5, and some people even saying they should be number 1. And then here's the Duke matchup for you, Donald. Auburn coming to Cameron to play the Blue Devils. I've got a bunch of stuff on Auburn that I just looked up in the past half hour or so since we found out about this, but I'll let you go first because I've been doing all the talking so far. What do you think about the Auburn Tigers coming to visit Cameron Indoor Stadium?
Well, it should be a strong program, right? Auburn's been good the last few years and sometimes elite under Bruce Pearl since he's taken over the program. It felt like a weird kind of announcement only because Arkansas was out there, and Arkansas playing at Miami feels like kind of a missed opportunity here for the SEC and the ACC to have yet another marquee matchup. But make no mistake, Auburn is a really good team. Also, Jason, this is a team that plays physical. It plays with a little bit of a chip on its shoulder, the kind of things that have bounced us from tournaments in the past couple of seasons, the kind of thing that John Shire has made a point of emphasis in the offseason to address. So this will be a test for the Blue Devils in seeing if that physicality is there on December 4th.
Yeah, so let me tell you something about Auburn very quickly. They bring in a stud transfer, point guard JP Pegas from Furman. I'm probably pronouncing his last name wrong. It might be Pegu. I'm not sure. Anyway, he was one of the top portal guards in the country. Averaged more than 18 points per game, 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Hit almost 88% of his free throws, 36% from three-point land. A really, really elite player that they are bringing in to Auburn as a transfer. They also have returning 6'10" forward Johnny Broome, who was number 3, the 3rd best player in the country, according to Ken Pomeroy's Player of the Year, statistical rankings, behind only Zach Edey and Tristan Newton. I mean, Johnny Broome is a guy who is a contender to be a preseason All-American, averaged, 16.5 points per game last year, 8.5 rebounds per game. Already has scored 2,000 points in his career. He's a very experienced player. And I could see him maybe matching up with Malik Brown, maybe matching up with Cooper Flagg. Really, really interesting matchups there that make this game, this Duke Auburn contest, very, very interesting. And it's worth noting, most of the preseason prognosticators have Auburn in the top 10, top 15. They're ranked very similarly to where Duke is. This is going to be a great game to really test this Duke club. And last thing I'll mention about this is that I think we now have a pretty good sense of all the major, opponents outside the ACC that Duke is going to play. And it's a really impressive slate. Kansas, Kentucky, and Illinois, all on neutral floors. Road game at Arizona, and now this home game in Cameron in the challenge against Auburn. That's a big time slate of opponents. Just littered with top 10 quality teams. This Duke team clearly, afraid of no one next year.
Yeah, Jason, I love it. I know you love it. And I think it's something that the fans have wanted, right? For us to kind of go after some of these big time teams and test them, whether they're on neutral ground, whether in, true road games, and whether they're in Cameron. I think also this, we should recognize the fact that Auburn is still a marquee team, right? So when you talk about the Cameron schedule, those fans who are renewing those tickets at those, feverishly high prices, are getting a marquee matchup that they can at least say, hey, this is something that we're looking forward to coming to Cameron. And again, there's a couple other games that are out there that are probably going to round out this schedule, but this is still a really tough non-conference schedule. And I think that's exactly what this coaching staff wanted, to test this team who we think can go for it all next year.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, the entire Blue Devil world bids farewell to the man who was the voice of Duke basketball and Duke football for a couple generations. Bob Harris has passed. On the other side, we'll be reflecting a little bit on his amazing career. And as we go to break, here's a famous call from Bob Harris's history.
9 seconds left as Rivers comes front court. Rivers works against Bullock. To the right side he goes. He'll try to step back with 1 second. Let's fly! Got it! The Blue Devils win it over North Carolina, 85-84. Oh my gosh! I do not believe this.
Hey, Duke fans, warmer, sunnier days are here. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for the summer thanks to Factor's menu of chef-crafted meals.
Jason, I can tell you Factor has so many options, more than 35 meals and 60 add-ons each week. So I never got tired of eating the same thing every day. You won't be needing to constantly clean pots or pans, and you'll be ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Just pop in the microwave and you're ready to go.
So head to factormeals.com/DukeBB50 and use that code DukeBB50 to get 50% off your first box. That is a great deal. And then you also get 20% off your next month. That's factormeals.com/DukeBB50 for 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month with Factor Meals.
So get to eating great food and be on the way to your health goals with Factor.
This episode of the Duke Basketball Roundup is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Wow, the year feels like it's flown by. As we enter the summer, it is the time to take note of the wins that life has brought you. And it's a good time to make adjustments for the rest of 2024. Talking to someone about those wins and improvements can help you recalibrate and give you something to focus on for the remaining months of the year.
That's right, Donald. That's where BetterHelp can provide the alley-oop. Getting advice from a therapist can help you keep the focus on the good things in life and learn how to handle the hard better. It's online, it's flexible, and you get to fit it within your schedule. You just fill out a questionnaire and you get matched to a professional that can serve as your guide, and you can switch anytime you wish.
So if you need help setting those goals to carry you through 2024, try BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/DukeBB. That's DUKEBB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DukeBB.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
Donald, we're back from the break. And as we mentioned just moments ago, Bob Harris, the voice of the Blue Devils, called basketball and football for 41 years. 41 years. Unbelievable amount of time. Bob Harris has passed after battling, I guess, Alzheimer's, dementia.
Alzheimer's. Yeah,
it was
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's specifically. I'm sure it was a very, very difficult time for his family toward the end. He retired in 2017. When he retired, Bob Harris was the longest tenured play-by-play voice in ACC history. Again, he started in 1976. I can't even believe that. He called 471 consecutive football games for Duke. 471 consecutive games from September of 1976 until November of 2016 when he hung it up. He also called 1,392 basketball games. Now, that's a lot of basketball games.
That's a lot of games.
He called 5 national titles. He called 13 Final Fours. And the thing I wanted to mention just very quickly was there was a time, I know it may be surprising, there was a time when not every game was on television.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when it was a challenge to get to watch the Duke Blue Devils, especially like the football team, but even the basketball team. And the way so many of us, look, this goes back to my youth, the way so many of us experienced Duke football and Duke basketball for decades was we experienced it through the voice of Bob Harris. Was just a special guy, had unbridled enthusiasm, and had a great knack, never got taken over by the moment. He always knew when to let it breathe, and he knew when to put his words in there and tell you exactly what he was seeing and what was going on. And we, as the Duke community, not only are we mourning today, we're celebrating one of the most important figures in the history of our sports program at Duke University. I'm so sad to see him go, but I've had a lot of fun today going back through some of his great calls to listen to them and remember the man who was the voice of the Blue Devils for longer than many of the folks listening to this podcast have even been alive.
I mean, Jason, if you think about it, when Coach K took over in 1980, he was 4 years in. So he was kind of growing with Coach K and through his tenure, right? And just like when we talked a couple years ago about how there's a entire generation, maybe even 2 generations that had only seen one Duke basketball coach, there was an entire set of generations that had only heard one voice of the Blue Devils, and that was Bob Harris. He was on our show, Jason, back on episode 54. And I still remember that conversation we had where I think we had to cut him off because we're like, yo, we could go for 3 more hours talking about all the things that he had seen and dealt with and how he got to the point that he did. I also always fondly remember whenever I go to Cameron, right? He would always be there, even after he had retired for a few years until he got a little too ill to start making it to basketball games. But every time he saw you, didn't matter if it had been a month or a year, he would say hi. He'd be very, very warm with everybody that he came across. And between him and I, we'd be able to catch up on things because, we had a nice rapport when, dating back to when I was in college and seeing him at every single basketball game and he seeing me, going crazy for the team that we all love. So for Bob Harris, I mean, a friend of the podcast, a friend of Duke, he was Duke for so long and will continue to be a part of this entire operation that we all, again, root for on a daily basis. Bob Harris, for real, rest in peace.
Yeah, nothing more to say after that. That's it for this latest edition of the DBR podcast, this episode of DBR Bites. He is Donald Wine. I am Jason Evans. Usually, the Duke band would be playing us out, but instead, another famous call from the great Bob Harris. Thanks for listening, folks. Bob, thanks for 41 years of making us all love Duke.
Throw it the length of the floor. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores!
I've had people say, well, how in the world did you rehearse that call or whatever? I said, you can't rehearse a call. You don't know what's going to happen.
Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer. The Blue Devils win it, 104 to 103. Look out, Minneapolis. Here come the Blue Devils.